What do you think this news poll means? 56-44 towards your side. Is this really going to lock in a small target strategy for Labor? We won't hear much from you. No big ideas, no inspiring themes. You just need to get into power.
Well, I think we saw some very big ideas from Anthony Albanese last week when he spoke at the National Press Club, talking about investing in our schools, making sure that we plan for our education system throughout hopefully towards the end of this pandemic. So I don't agree with that suggestion that Labor isn't thinking big about the big, better future that we need to get Australia through and out of this COVID pandemic. So I don't agree with that. What we do know is that this poll is probably about 4 months from election day. So we are going to see them go up and down and all over the place. I'm not reading too much into it. I know that we have to work incredibly hard to win the trust of the Australian people. That's what myself, Anthony Albanese and the whole team will be doing every single day as we put forward our positive plans to the Australian people.
Is there a concern that eventually for you in WA there, because Labor has its eye on about 3 seats, that Mark McGowan might become a bit of an issue? When you're talking about opening up the borders, there's no plan right now. And we've had medical experts on the program today say that opening up and waiting until 80% or 90% of the state is boosted might never happen because people keep becoming eligible. Do you need him to come to the party with an opening up date to show that he is serious about it?
We know that Australian voters, and indeed Western Australian voters, know the difference between state and federal elections. When it comes to the very complex health policy decisions that need to be made around borders, we've always said as federal Labor that we're not going to be in the business of criticising premiers when they're acting on health advice. And indeed, I've said that on your program last week. When the Premier here in Western Australia acts on health advice, we will support them. We saw Anthony Albanese saying that
no
again
matter
yesterday.
what. So there's never any critical thought. Whatever any Premier ever does, if they just say health advice, those 2 words, no matter what, it's fine, even if they have completely different views to the state next to them. How does that make sense?
Well, different states are in different stages of this pandemic. And I know many West Australians will be concerned today that we saw reports that there are COVID outbreaks on mine sites in Western Australia. Our whole country, from the Prime Minister and the Treasurer down, have been fortunate that we haven't had huge, large-scale COVID outbreaks in the Western Australian mining industry. That is a good thing, and it's a credit to Mark McGowan. It's a credit to the people of Western Australia.
We've got Jason.
Is Jason going to come and talk to us about this poll, though? Is that where he's here?
The sabotage has been ended. The party's let him out.
Because there's some good news in this poll for Jason.
What's that?
Colour. Yeah, go on. Oh, Pat, you take over. What is the good news?
Yeah. Well, it was pointed out to me as I headed into the Sky News studio here in Perth that Jason's odds have come in becoming the next leader of the Liberal Party. If you go on Sportsbet at the moment, you can get $91 to 1 for Jason to take over from Scott Morrison. Now, that is the best investment I've heard of all year. It's a great opportunity for the people of Australia, and I look forward to Sportsbet paying out on that Falinski leadership whenever it should happen.
Well, there'll only be a few of them left, so someone has to be leader. Jason, you are straight talking. What did you think when you saw 56-44?
Look, I was really, disappointed, to be blunt. I mean, I think it's an accurate reflection of the frustration that a lot of people in our community are feeling, especially over summer. The health establishment told us all that if we got vaccinated to 80%, then they changed that to 90%, that we could go back to our lives as normal. And that hasn't happened. And, we're in government. People are frustrated. They're rightfully holding us responsible for that. And we just need to get on and fix it so that people can get back on with their lives.
So it's the government was misled about what 80 or 90% would mean. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I don't think the government was misled, Tom. I think that all of us, you were broadcasting those messages, and I would never accuse you of misleading us, that, once Australians reached 80% double vaccinated, the restrictions would be removed and we could go back to our lives as normal with very few restrictions. It's quite clear over summer that hasn't happened, and people have been frustrated with long queues at at testing points as state governments closed PCR labs. They've been frustrated when they're just trying to see their families in either Western Australia or Queensland, and either had to wait 5 hours in line to get tested or couldn't actually make that happen. All these things, I think, have weighed down on Australians over 2 years.
So,
and it's, it's kind of hard to believe that we're still here. And I think that the health establishment keeps saying one thing to Australians and then doing another, and we need to have some plain speaking.
Okay, let me just ask you there finally about Scott Morrison. Do you feel as though he's lost some voters and those voters have stopped listening?
He certainly, the poll says that he has lost some voters. No, I don't think Australians are fair-minded. So I think that when this is behind us, they will listen to both Anthony Albanese and Scott Morrison and what they have to offer for the next 3 years. So that's where the election will be fought, and that's where we'll be fighting it on the future, not the past.
The next topic's close to your heart, but I'll bring Pat in on this first of all, because I know he's got some, I'm sure he's got some insight as to what Labor's going to do. You mentioned big ideas, Patrick Gorman. Housing affordability, Labor had some big ideas last time. The issues only become more acute for Australians. You're going to have some more big ones. You've got nothing on the table from what I can see at the moment on this.
We will have more to say when it comes to housing affordability. Labor is committed to making sure that more Australians can get into an affordable home and indeed own a home. We have already outlined one big idea, which is our Housing Affordability Future Fund, which is to make sure that we build 30,000 more social and affordable homes across Australia. Now, there will be more to come.
But a social home's not
to
home
announce those
ownership,
extra
is it?
policies. As I said, there will be more to come. I'm not in the position to outline all of our policies today. But that is one big commitment, and it will be a big change from where we've been over the last few years, where we haven't had that rolling, continuous, ongoing investment secure from one budget to the next. So we'll take it out of the sort of ordinary argy-bargy budget cycle and make sure there's this future fund putting dividends in and funds each year to build social and affordable housing. I know in my electorate, it's something that people raise with me on a regular basis. I was out door knocking on the weekend. A pensioner raised with me the concerns about the ongoing increases in rent, and I explained to him this policy. He said that makes a bit of sense.
Jason, I know we've spoken about this before, and I know you mainly point the blame at state and local governments, but will you, as in the federal government, bring something serious for housing affordability to this election, a major policy to be announced?
Well, Tom, we've already brought a lot to the table about getting young Australians into a home that they own. And these discussions between the three of us are quite difficult because I know Patrick to be a good person, and I know he doesn't, and I know he recognises that more public housing is not home ownership. And I know that there are good people in the Labor Party who understand the importance of home ownership, that if you don't have large-scale home ownership, you have wealth inequality across the country. You have higher levels of domestic violence, higher levels of homelessness, lower levels of economic growth and participation. And most importantly, you have lower levels of family formation. And if any nation is to mean anything, it is to mean that all of us have the capacity, not only the capacity, but the opportunity to develop ourselves and to lead the best lives possible.
Right, we're nearly out of time, but you said you've got policies there. They're in place. There are various of them. The housing affordability issue remains. I'm just asking, is there something up your sleeves here that potential or aspiring homeowners can look for?
Well, there will be a report in a couple of weeks' time that will be brought down by the Tax and Revenue Committee. I'm hoping that it will be a unanimous report and it will have a lot of ideas in it. And I hope that both sides of Parliament pick up them so that it becomes an issue, a bipartisan issue.